I'm Matthias Knapp of Opalesk, and today we are visiting Prime Capital in Frankfurt, Germany. Prime Capital is an alternative asset manager with over 15 years of experience in hedge fund investing. They are well off the beaten path, yet can pride themselves on one of the best track records in the industry globally. Today, we will talk with Prime Capital about what makes them unique and get to know the team.
Hey Werner, good to see you. Hi Matthias, welcome to Prime Capital. Thank you for having me. All right, let's go.
So Werner, please introduce us to Prime Capital and the Absolute Return team.
Prime Capital is an alternative asset manager located in Frankfurt, Germany. We started in 2006 with a handful of people and have grown to over 100 people with a mix of 23 nationalities in 2 locations. We manage a total of over 10 billion euros in various alternative asset classes. Hedge funds is our origin and DNA at Prime Capital. We started with a portfolio of large, well-established blue-chip hedge funds. This is still our flagship strategy, and we have complemented that over the years with 2 additional multi-manager hedge fund strategies.
And can you tell us about your history in this space and what distinguishes Prime Capital?
At the core of our investment strategy is the conviction that active asset management creates value. We believe that a combination of expertise and experience and a disciplined, repeatable investment process creates such value or alpha consistently over time. Throughout the history of Prime Capital, we have focused on generating such alpha for our institutional clients, and we have achieved roughly 7% annual net returns with high consistency and largely independent of general market movements. We think that being based in Frankfurt, away from the typical hedge fund centers, helps us achieve these results. 1, it helps us to think and act independently, and 2, it probably also helps with our focus on discipline and processes. Of course, we invest globally, and Frankfurt Airport connects us well to the world. We are on the road a lot, seeing our managers, of course, talking to our international clients.
I wonder, what is the outlook for your multi-manager portfolios?
Look, we're in the late stage of a very long bull market for both equities and bonds, and this has led to very high valuations in most asset classes, and this leads to high uncertainty with volatility and dispersion. Usually such times of high uncertainty are the best environment for hedge funds to play out their advantages. And we at Prime Capital have a unique track record of resilience in such difficult markets. Now let's get up and I introduce you to Tilo and his team.
As you see, we are all in an open office with a lot of interaction. Here's already Tilo. You will also meet some of the analysts later on.
So Tilo, great to meet you. Can you describe your investment philosophy? Like, what are your core beliefs?
Investment management is craftsmanship and teamwork. Both Werner and I have been in the hedge fund industry for over 20 years. We've been to multiple cycles and have seen it all. This combined with a very diverse team of analysts makes for a very good mix. One core belief, which was forged during my time at McKinsey, is that beta is very cheap and only pure alpha is worth paying for. But it's extremely difficult to find this pure alpha. You need to be aware of the different flaws and biases of how your brain works. One thing is you need to be careful not to be too overconfident, and on the other hand, you need to overcome the fear of missing out. We do this by having strong processes and being deliberately slow in these processes.
So I'm curious, what drives you?
I'm driven by excellence. I want to create the best hedge fund portfolio. And not for the next month or quarter, but for the next 5 or 10 years. If you want to be the best portfolio in the short term, that can only be achieved by taking excessive risk or by luck. And we think through strong processes, you can achieve a great portfolio in the long run.
Can you tell us also about your portfolio construction process?
When I started my career, I always laughed about the people who said you need to combine top-down approach with bottom-up approach. I said it's like just find the best 10 managers, combine them, and you have the best portfolio. But that's similar to soccer. If you only have 11 good defense players, that doesn't make a good team. You need an offense and defense and a good goalkeeper. And if you combine that, you really get a good soccer team. For us, the core of a good portfolio are equity market neutral and relative value managers. We call these strategies convergence. We combine that with a divergence strategy that are managers which have a convex payout profile and are somewhat an insurance against strong market movements. The last part of our portfolio construction are value managers, and we typically invest in distressed credit managers and get there a little bit beta to the portfolio. The core convergence strategy in our portfolio is quite stable. We shift between value and divergence depending on the cycle. At the end of a cycle, you want to have a higher insurance premium and less exposure to the market, and vice versa. After a crisis, you want to have less insurance and you have more exposure to the market. To construct a portfolio, we fill these buckets bottom up with best-in-class managers. And at Prime, we have the policy that we don't fill a bucket for the sake of it. If we don't find a good manager, we don't invest in one. For the blue chip portfolio, we invest in 10 managers roughly. To come up with the 10 managers, we look through thousands of managers out there. And a good name gets you to the door, but it does not get you in the portfolio. Every manager needs to go through a rigorous investment due diligence process and an operational due diligence process. We have analyzed the hedge fund space, and we found that there are two pockets of alpha. So on the one side, the big managers who have strong research firepower and very strong risk management processes. On the other side, you have smaller managers who are focused on niches and produce alpha through being focused on these niches. And we cater to both strategies. We have the blue chip strategy where we invest in the bigger managers, and we have the select strategies. We focus on the smaller managers and diversify that a little bit more. On blue chip managers, we have roughly 10 managers in the portfolio. With select, we have 15 to 20 managers. And when you have finished to create the portfolio, the whole process starts again. It's like you monitor the existing managers and you constantly look for new managers.
Daniel is a director in the manager selection team here at Prime Capital. So Daniel, when you look at manager due diligence, how important is the operational assessment?
Next to the quantitative and qualitative assessments, the operational due diligence is certainly a key pillar of our manager selection process. Within our setup, the operational assessment is completely independent from our investment due diligence, and because we want to have an unbiased decision making. Within the teams, we certainly have a collaborative approach, and we put a great emphasis on active discussions throughout the assessments, but we do not always agree, which at the end of the day is obviously a good thing. Ultimately, an adverse finding on the operational side could trigger an investment to be stopped. But before we even get there, we will always work with the relevant managers, and we want to find out if they can and want to rectify our findings. And on a very positive note, what we find over and over again is that managers are very keen to receive our feedback and are also very happy to look into improving their own internal setups. As part of the operational due diligence, we will schedule various meetings and calls with all different levels at the manager. On the non-investment side, this will include operations, it will include technology team, it will include compliance and any other team that is relevant for this specific strategy. Next to that, we will also independently verify the information we have received with the administrator. We will verify with third parties that they can confirm the relationships, and we will also run background checks on all relevant staff, and on top of that we'll review the relevant fund documents. Last but not least, to complement our assessment, we also have access to our CTO and legal team, which are adding further in-house expertise if we require. Prime Capital is running 3 different hedge fund strategies with a variety of underlying managers that all come with their own distinct strategy and underlying unique setup, which in the case of smaller managers are certainly keeping us on our toes. You wonder why I say that? Let me explain. When we look into bigger managers, we often have state-of-the-art systems and best-in-class setups, whilst for smaller managers that focus on particular niche in the market, standard approach does not work in terms of operational assessment, and we actually do need to tailor our process to adapt. Overall, we have established a very strong framework and scoring approach in order to adapt to the different strategies that we're facing on a day-to-day basis. With an active dialogue, not only internally, but also externally, we're able to minimize the risk of an operational issue, which is a common source for hedge fund failures.
And a question for the team. What makes Prime special for you?
So Prime is a really flat organization. We all work here together on an open floor where we can have open discussions. And Thilo and Werner, they are just like sitting here among us. So we can always go to them, ask them questions and pick their brain if we need. And also I feel like everybody really has an equal voice here. So everyone's view and opinion is always very appreciated. Sometimes the discussions among the team can get a little bit passionate, but that is a good thing. That means like nobody feel like there's a need to censor their views or what they want to say. And oftentimes something really good comes out of those passionate discussions.
One thing I enjoy at Prime is the ownership of the work you do here. When we are evaluating a potential investment, for example, the lead analyst gets to see the whole process through from start to finish. From the first interaction with the hedge fund manager to crunching the numbers, preparing the evaluation report, defending the case at the investment committee, and eventually monitoring the investment once it's in the portfolio. Along the way, many team members are involved in the process and you receive a lot of support. However, it is ultimately you who drives the process. Our processes are extensive, by the way, so look, this way of working can be tough. Eventually, I think it is highly rewarding though.
So what really makes the difference for me is that Prime values your curiosity. So we have a generous approach in the team, and due to the variety of products we offer to our investors, there's always a new unbeaten path worth exploring. And finding and analyzing new investment niches and strategies is not only interesting and fun, but also intellectually stimulating. And especially when you present something new to the team, our open and straightforward team spirit directly sparks a discussion. And then you really see the glow in everybody's eyes, and you can see the brain starting to work on why and how this strategy might work or might not work. And I can assure you within seconds you will get some questions or thoughts about the strategy that you haven't thought of before, and even though you thought you understand the strategy. And I think this mindset and curiosity is really why I love this job, and I think also key to Prime's success.
So for me, it's all about the people. You know, we're all different, and we enjoy debating and challenging each other on investment strategies and managers and investment ideas, and that's all well and good, but on top of it, everyone's just really nice. And when you work with a team where everyone is super smart and hardworking and genuinely nice and fun to have around, it creates this buzzy atmosphere that for me is just very motivating. So I just enjoy being part of the team, and I just love coming to the office every day.